Before we begin, two messages. What mobile platform do companies like eBay, NBC Universal, the Los Angeles Times, Razorfish, and PayPal use to build their cross-platform native applications? Titanium by Appcelerator. They aren't alone. There are now over 25,000 apps deployed by Appcelerator, which has been called the Rosetta Stone of app development. And you can start now for free. Just go to www.appcelerator.com for more information. When my company needed to develop a key mobile product, one that I was counting on as a new source of revenue, I knew exactly who to turn to. Macadamian. They delivered on time with incredible attention to detail, and I was able to get product into customers' hands faster than I ever thought possible. I've personally known them for 10 years, and they do make great products even better. Check them out at www.macadamian.com. Hello everybody, welcome to Untether.tv. I'm your host, Rob Woodbridge. This is where we dive into get behind the scenes in the business of mobile, try to understand what makes mobile move and some of the companies that are doing that. And you should know by now, I love having guests on for a second time because it gives us perspective. We actually get to call them out on things that they said in the last time we were with me, if they remember the things that they said. So here's another example of this. But as we're leading into the holiday season, we've just finished Thanksgiving. We're moving into Christmas at the breakneck speed, and we're moving into 2012, which is going to be the year of something around mobile and mobile commerce. And we figure who else to get back on the show than John Caron, who was actually one of the most viewed shows. If you haven't seen the first one we did, you should go back after this one and watch that episode because it was chock full of information around mobile commerce and around everything from QR codes. We touched it all, and we're going to do the same thing, but really about a forward-thinking episode today because we don't know what 2012 is going to be, but John is going to enlighten to us what's going to happen in 2012 and some of the big trends that we're facing. So I'm going to bring him in here. John is the Senior VP of Marketing for Modiv Media. John, welcome. Really appreciate you coming back.
Good to be here. I like that intro. I appreciate that.
Well, I'm certainly not in my domain here. I'm actually in Miami at MEF America's conference where I'm speaking and doing a bunch of filming and interviewing. So I am, sorry, a little out of sorts. Just dropped my stuff in, and I'm in the hotel. It's a beautiful view. To my right over here is the ocean, which is incredible. And it's wherever you are. I don't know if you've been to Miami or not. Wherever you are, it's always 30 and sunny here. I don't know, John. I know you're in Massachusetts, right? Somewhere. Whereabouts in Massachusetts?
Yeah, Boston.
Yeah, you're in Boston. Not so bad.
No. Actually, we can't complain. Although I can tell you're from Canada when you said it's 30 and sunny.
30 and sunny.
About a couple weeks in Boston, it'll be 30 and sunny, but I'm talking Fahrenheit.
Fahrenheit, that's right. Hovering around zero in Canada.
Exactly.
Well, I really appreciate you doing this. I love having, as I said, folks back on to do a second or a third episode simply because it's continuity and really it is about trying to understand what this industry is going through, and who better to bring that to the forefront than you guys, who are actually the guys going through this kind of stuff. Things change so quickly.
They really do.
I just remember 2011 was supposed to be the year of NFC, and here we are almost December 1st when we're recording this, and it's hasn't really happened yet, has it?
No, but it's going to, right? I mean, you've got companies like Google who are going to make it happen, right? So NFC, I think one of the jokes has been it's for the last 10 years, it's been 1 year away from happening next year. So I think there's a strong confidence with what we're seeing with people actually using NFC, and I actually just read today something about Foursquare using NFC to drive check-ins. So it's a great technology, and when you've got a company the size of Google willing to help the retailers embrace it and utilize it, it's a good thing. It's NFC is a great form of payment. Conceptually, it's great. I love paying for things with my phone. In fact, just a week ago, I had what I felt was a kind of surreal, futuristic experience where it was pouring. I got out of my car, got into Starbucks, and realized I'd left my wallet in my car, and then remembered, well, I don't need my wallet because I'm in Starbucks. I've got their mobile app, paid with my mobile app, and it was great. And I think that's indicative of where it's going.
Well, I can't wait. We're going to dive into this, and the big fear that I have, certainly with you, John, is that you and I get into this groove where we just have a conversation, forget about the fact that we're actually filming this, and it's 14 hours later we're still talking about mobile because we got that same enthusiasm. So why don't we structure this? Let's dive into a little bit about what Modiv is. I'll give you the opportunity to refresh everybody's memory about what Modiv does, and then really talk about how things have changed since we last spoke at the end of August of 2011 this year. So it's been 3.5 months, and I'd really like to kind of get your perspective of how things have changed in that period of time, what you're noticing in the industry. Then we're going to start talking about the future stuff that's so cool. So yeah. Modiv. Come on.
Cool. Well, I'll do a quick one on Modiv because
Sure.
future stuff is more exciting to me. Modiv is a company that's been around for 10 years, and we've been delivering in-store technology, most of which was delivered way ahead of the market. And we had these really crazy, wild ideas that retailers thought were really neat, and shoppers thought we were crazy, like putting mobile.
You're onto something good then, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, it's funny, right? We're coming full circle. 10 years ago, we started by putting a mobile tablet onto a shopping cart. Basically, we more or less took a touchscreen laptop, broke the keyboard off of it, and stuck it to a shopping cart, and people couldn't believe what they were seeing. Well, now I'm laughing because I'm seeing companies coming out now saying, well, we're going to put a tablet on a shopping cart. So I guess it's kind of funny to see things come full circle. So we've been doing this for 10 years. I think one of the interesting things about Modiv is that our solution was based on a proprietary device provided by Motorola, and a couple of years ago we saw the natural evolution to smartphones. So unlike a lot of the mobile technology companies that are out there, we already cut our teeth in the real high volume retail world of grocery. We do about 1 million transactions per month at full completed shopping trips that drive about $1 billion of sales every year. So our solution has had the advantage of being tested pretty heavily, and we see mobile as just really actually an extraordinary leap forward on two fronts. One is consumers are looking for this, right? They want to engage retailers and stores with their smartphones. And the second is it allows us to do things that the proprietary device never could do before, right? In terms of integration, interaction, functionality, the size of the screen, everything. So we've been around for a while. We're excited. We signed up a second retailer last quarter, and they're in pilot right now. We've got a third one right behind it. So 10 years with one customer, and then we launch mobile, and a few months later, we pick up our second and third, customers. That's an indicator to us that we're heading in the right direction.
No kidding. Well, congratulations. 10 years being involved in this space gives you great perspective. Is there anything, for 10 years, as you said, we've been promising the year of mobile, and I don't think we're quite there yet, but we are. Maybe 2012 will be that year. But is there anything that surprised you over the last quarter that you've seen that is kind of, is it as the economy is kind of getting a little cooler, mobile is heating up? Is there anything that you're noticing?
Speed, right? The interest of retailers and the speed with which they're interested in moving. I think a lot of them are realizing, hey, I am behind the 8 ball here, right? I am going to be playing catch up really soon because there are hundreds of companies building really cool shopping apps, and their objective is to inject themselves into the purchase path, right? So to get somewhere between the retailer and the shopper. And if retailers aren't smart, there'll be too many of them in place for them to be able to effectively replace those folks, and then they'll be turned into what in essence is a showroom or a distribution center, warehouse, or whatever, right?
I just call it a shelter for equipment so it doesn't get wet, right?
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
That's what they become. Best Buy has become that, right?
Best Buy is very, they're smart. They're not ignoring the elephant in the room. They realize that people walk in, and they'll use Google Shopper or Amazon Shopper. They will, price comparison apps are very prevalent in specialty retailers. But one of the things that they recognize also is that price is only one component of the overall experience, the overall factor, right? So what we see in grocery in particular, which is really our forte, is the ability for grocers to engage the shoppers in ways that they never had. It really integrates that shopping experience in a way that connects the physical store to the shopper in a very personalized manner. And I think we're going to see more and more of that happen, right? Where it's in my opinion, 2012, there are two big things that are going to happen. One is convergence, the other is context. And with regard to convergence, it's these apps and the smartphone devices will connect the shopper to the physical store. Now, whether that's an NFC check-in, an NFC payment, a mobile app, something like what Modiv does, which is kind of a hybrid of all of that. But there will be smart retailers will look at that device and say, okay, this is a way for me to engage the shopper and treat every single one as an individual when they walk in the store. That's going to be huge. Now the next piece is you've got to put that in context. You can't treat everybody the same. Foursquare did a promotion where they gave a coupon to everybody who checked into, I think it was like a Target or something. I should remember this, but I'm drawing a blank right now. But the problem is checking into a store doesn't necessarily mean a lot, right? But if you treat everybody the exact same by giving them, you say, ooh, if you check in here with your mobile phone, I'm going to give you a coupon. Well, that's no different than having a high school kid handing out coupons at the front of the store because you treat every shopper the same way. Well, what if that was done in context, right? What if it was done in context of who you are, where you are, what you like to buy, the frequency with which you buy, etc.? Now the coupon is much more, or the offer is much more intelligent. It's smarter for the retailer because they offer just enough to get you to buy, right? But not so much that they're giving away margin if they're funding the offer, and ditto for the brands. So I think that those two things are going to become really important because there's such a massive proliferation of new technology being driven at consumers through the mobile device. That we're going to see less and less interest in opening multiple apps when I'm in a store, and more focused on, okay, make this some type of neat, cool, compelling experience that saves me time, saves me money, has some real value, enhances the experience, and then I'll open it and use it.
So, you talk about engagement. I mean, that's certainly a big word these days, is user engagement, and certainly around context. I mean, it's kind of like the holy grail. Give me the right thing at the right time when I'm in the right mood, and make it the right offer. But I mean, how do you? Is engagement, a pop-up, a text message at the right time? Is an engagement, do I have to open up an application? Is engagement done through a branded application, like if I go into the Gap or I go into a grocery store and I have their application? I mean, how does this play out? Because a lot of people talk about engagement, but the solutions that I see aren't very clear. They still require so much user intervention that sometimes it's not as fluid as it should be.
Right. Well, I'd say there's a huge difference between pushing a message or advertising at a consumer via their mobile device versus engaging that person. So I think I'd draw the line there. Right. There's been this dream of retailers, right, that you walk by my store, and as you walk by my store, and something pops up and says, "Come
on in."
Right. So the example I like to use is I go to Starbucks. I love Starbucks. If I'm walking by the local Starbucks and an offer pops up and it says get any size tea for $1, all right? So there I am right in front of the Starbucks. There's an offer for any tea for $1. Sounds great, right? The problem is I don't drink tea. I drink coffee. So that offer is completely out of context. It doesn't know who I am. And a group called Luth Research did a study. And one of the things they found was that in terms of what's important to a person with regard to receiving an offer, while location is important, about 8% of people said that location has an impact on whether or not they'll use it. About 60% said personalization, right? So that's the key. An offer in front of a store or in the aisle, right, is cool, but if it's out of context, you've lost something. And that goes to the difference between engaging the shopper and of pushing messages at the shoppers. And I mean, this is mine, right? This is me. This is my smartphone. Any messages pushed here come here because I want them here, right? Or because it's a friend or family or whomever, right? You start bombarding me with messages through this very personal device, you're losing me and you're no longer engaging me. So I think it's a fine line, and it's really going to be driven by the types of apps I download and then the quality of that, of that app.
I couldn't agree with you more. The fact that you can now, just because there is air, doesn't mean that you have the ability or the right to bombard everybody with these messages as you walk down an aisle. I kind of look at it and say, the difference between knowing me and not knowing me, or engagement or non-engagement, is, it always strikes me that location seems to be at the center of all of this. But somehow I have to get to that location. So it's only good for foot traffic. If I'm walking past that location and that virtual reach comes over and says, okay, come on in, I'll give you whatever you want for $1 off. But I love these gyms that say, right at their entrance, come on in for a tour, right? Like I've driven out to this desolate location. It's the big gym, and I pulled up into the parking lot. And that's where they put the sign to say, "Come on in for a tour, non-member." Right? It doesn't make any sense. That you've wasted your a lot of money putting that out there. Whereas, I guess the idea is to entice people from their couch or from another location into this because of that personalization. Is that where this is going?
Well, I think there's a couple pieces of it, right? So most retailers are quite adept at driving people into the store, right? There's this what I like to call the last mile in retail. Once I walk in the door, from the time I walk in the door to the time I get to the cash register, that is a virtual black hole for retailers. They don't know who you are, where you are. Now, yes, they use video and surveillance and all sorts of tracking and that, but
that's tracking.
Right, that's to look at, okay, where do I shop? How do I walk through the store, et cetera? But it's not about customer or shopper engagement. So, what we've focused on is that black hole, right? So once you've walked in the door, right, what can I do to engage you and influence your behavior? And I think that's really, for retailers, that's that ultimate moment of truth, right? The place where I can reach out to you, not to pull you into the store, because I'm very good at doing that. But once you're in the store, what I want to do is I want to take the time that you're spending in the store, whether it's 5 minutes or 20 minutes or 30 minutes, and I want to turn more of that time from browsing into buying. And if I can do that through an app, now I've hit a home run, because I will get a larger share of your wallet. You will spend more with me as a retailer. You'll have a higher sense of satisfaction and loyalty. My costs, operating costs and labor costs can come down, or I can redeploy. You think about the checkout process, right? I mean, it's the least efficient process in retail, right? I put all my stuff in a basket, then I get up to this conveyor belt, I take everything out of my basket, put it on this conveyor belt, somebody puts it all in a bag and then sticks it back in my basket. Why am I doing that, right? Why do I need to do that? How does that enhance the experience, right? Well, what if there was no checkout, right? What if all I had to do was, when I was done, just hit pay on my phone? Or scan a QR code, and I was done, right? And when I needed help, there turned out to be a whole bunch of people in the store, rather than sitting up waiting for me to come, do this transaction. Well, what if I could do that? And the interesting thing is, that's no longer a what if. It's called the Apple Store, right? And that's where we're headed. I mean, it really, really changes that shopping experience, and almost brings us back to that mom and pop feeling, right? When we were kids and there was that corner store and you walked in and they knew who you were and they knew what you wanted, or the local butcher, that kind of feeling, because there were more people out trying to help you from a customer service perspective than ring you up and process you through the front end. Yep. It could be very, very compelling if this all comes to fruition.
It is. It's the Gary Vaynerchuk thank you economy right there, isn't it? Yeah. Small town rules, I guess is what he calls it. Yeah. So when we talk about, certainly around mobile commerce, are those the big trends, the big things that are driving mobile commerce today? Or because we've heard some staggering statistics. eBay has come out and said, listen, $3.5 billion in mobile transactions. I think that there's got to be a clear delineation between what a mobile transaction is and new mobile revenue, because moving existing revenue into a mobile transaction you're just shifting. But I look to see, listen, if this industry is really valuable, it's not about just moving money from a credit card to an NFC enabled or e-wallet or a mobile wallet. It's about driving new revenue as a result of this. Is that fair to say? Is that one of these things that we're looking for? And is this a trend that's happening?
Yeah, well, I think there are a couple things. I think one of the, you're really onto something. This is actually a hot button for me, which is, we talk about the billions of dollars in mobile commerce. Well, actually, it's mobile e-commerce for the most part.
Right. That's the best way of describing it.
Yeah, that's the lion's share of what's happening, right? Yes, somebody bought a $300,000 Mercedes on eBay mobile. That's really, really cool. And they did it on their iPhone. That's really neat. But they're engaged in a mobile e-commerce transaction, right? So the questions, I think you've got to break it up into pieces. You've got payment, which is, with the wallets and NFC, right? That is a competitor to American Express, Visa, right, check, et cetera, right? But it's very efficient, and it can be just a really interesting way for people to engage with a retailer. But also, whoever wins that wallet battle is going to have an extraordinary amount of customer data that they're going to be able to leverage, target, and utilize in a way that changes that experience. So I think there's going to be an interesting battle around the wallet. Then there's mobile e-commerce, right? And the great thing about mobile e-commerce is when I'm ready to buy, I'm ready to buy, and there is no path to purchase anymore, right? It's people say it's non-linear. I'd say it's random. I mean, literally, I can wake up and say, I'm going to buy this right now. Yeah. And it really comes down to, are you as a retailer ready to be there for that shopper when they're ready to buy? And then ultimately, what we see is this idea of using the device in a way that's never been done before, which is to connect the shopper and understand the behavior of the shopper in the store to influence their behavior in the store, right? So if you think about my interest in buying, right, in terms of search versus visiting a store. Let's just take those, those two ends of the spectrum, right? Well, when I'm searching and I'm researching online, I'm showing an interest or an intent to buy, right? What level it is, completely varies, but there's lots of marketing and advertising and promotion pushed at that. But when I walk into a store, odds are very good that I am looking to buy. Now, especially with the grocery store. Most people don't browse in a grocery store.
You don't just wander around hey, I'm not here to buy, I'm just looking.
Yeah, exactly. Wow, that's great lettuce.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I put that on layaway? I don't think it's gonna work the same way. So I think that what you've got is ends of the spectrum. But ultimately, even for lower frequency, like a Best Buy, knowing that the shopper was in the store, what they looked at, what they're interested in, what their purchase history is, and being able to take all of that and present a specific offer is very, very compelling. We do this in a high volume environment, right? Average of 25, 30 items per trip. You go grocery shopping twice a week. It's very different than going to buy a plasma or LED at Best Buy. But conceptually, the idea of the different ways that I can pay and engage these retailers, the retailers actually can't. It's not about one or the other. It's about all. You have to support all three of these channels. And if you don't, you're going to push shoppers away. I mean, I actually personally just experienced this weekend when I was at Home Depot looking to buy something. I said, let me go over to the Lowe's website on my mobile phone, see how much this is over there. I went to the Lowe's website, and I was shocked. They did not have a mobile website.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe it. And I didn't even bother to navigate. Now, their price could have been half of Home Depot's, but because there was no mobile optimized experience, I didn't have the patience to want to, to go through that channel. So you can't look at one, and say, okay, we're going to do NFC. Well, NFC isn't mobile commerce; it's a payment. Okay, we're going to do mobile e-commerce. Well, that's just part of it, right? That's not that's not the whole picture.
I don't want to derail us right here, but
you're gonna.
I'm gonna, because it's so staggering to this day that you can get to a website of a major retailer like Lowe's or Future Shop or Best Buy, and they haven't mobile optimized their site yet. They have just it's the exact same site, but on a smaller screen. That is unbelievable, especially for companies that need to be able to protect what they're doing, right? So this is their business, and they know that there are companies that are going, or people that are going into these companies and browsing and then searching online for product. And when these guys don't have their website mobile optimized, they're dropping down in search rankings. They're dropping down in favorability with their customers. They're losing customers when they're searching. Like, what is it going to take for people just to wake up? And I'm talking to you guys. If you look out at your website right now and it's not mobile optimized, don't watch the rest of this podcast. Don't watch the rest of this episode. Just go and do that first. And then when you're ready, come on back. That's how I feel. I just don't get it.
Yeah. No. Well, you know what? It's. I think there are a couple things. I think not only that, first and foremost, if you're a retailer and you don't have a mobile optimized site, you're missing opportunity for sure.
Yeah.
But another thing that we're seeing in apps, right, is what I call the CEO checkbox app.
Yeah.
And I may have mentioned this last time, but this is the thing where the CEO comes in and says, we need to have a mobile app because he was at a cocktail party this weekend and heard somebody else's wife talking about how she likes it. And he suddenly had this epiphany that, we need to have a mobile app. So he goes to the team and says, build me a mobile app. And they scratch there, and you have no extra money to do it, no extra people, right? Or I'll give you $20,000 to build a mobile app. And the team sits there, they scratch their heads and say, okay, well, we can put a store locator and our circular and, maybe some coupons and just some real basic, things. And let us turn that into an app, and we'll package it. And the CEO looks at it and goes, great, we have a mobile app. They push it out there, a few 100,000, people download it, but they never use it. And they don't get any.
They forget it.
They forget it, yeah, right? I mean, it's I forget who did the study, but roughly 76% of apps are used less than 10 times, right? And there's a reason for it. It's because they don't provide me with long-term value. And, this makes me think of the dot-com and internet days as we first got going. I worked for one of the big e-commerce vendors, and, we went from this transition from, brochureware, right, where all websites were just basically you take your brochure, turn it into a bunch of static pages. Then they became a little bit more interactive. Then we all realized, hey, wait a minute, we're missing something here. There's a great opportunity to engage people because they're showing interest in our product, but we're not delivering that. All we're doing is taking a paper product and putting it onto the internet. Well, in a lot of ways, people, whether it's a shopping list or a circular or coupons or whatever it is, they're doing the same thing with mobile apps. So I think over the course of the next year, what these folks are going to have to do is figure out, how do I deliver, a really valuable experience? How do I deliver something that's more than just for browsing? How do I deliver something that helps people buy? And if I give them something that helps them buy, they will return by buying. That's the goal.
Well, it's you hit on a hot topic for me there as well, which is I think there's a big difference between the potential of mobile, that dream, right? You described the situation where you walked into Starbucks without your wallet to me, and paid without your wallet because you had a Starbucks card on your smartphone, and really, that's the promise of mobile. The promise of mobile payments. It's a promise, driving people to your store, and then deeper engagement and fulfilling that engagement. But the reality is so far from that for a lot of people that I've spoken at many conferences, and some of them are staggering. Where you ask these questions like, what are you doing in mobile? And they say, well, we're doing text-based emailing, so it's mobile optimized. I'm like, okay, that's not mobile. Okay, who's doing something that's very specific with mobile? What are you doing? He's like, SMS. Okay, no, that's not mobile. So I get that ability. I think that we're years ahead, but then I come down to when I start talking to the average person, we've still got a long way to go before this starts to take off. Is that what you're seeing as well?
Well, I think, we're clearly at the tip of the iceberg here, right? I think that there'll be a very interesting transition. I think you're going to have a couple different paths. That you'll have the path of those who actually see it, get it, implement it, and use it properly. I think that what we're seeing in mobile right now is a lot of cute things that are out there that whether it's a check-in or a game or
Starbucks doing a QR augmented reality on a cup.
Yeah, I mean these are interesting. I don't the idea of augmented reality in Starbucks. I'd rather just go to the Starbucks because that's.
I need my coffee. Don't give me a fake one.
Yeah, it's although I think if I looked at a coffee on my phone in augmented reality, it'd probably get me to get up and go get a coffee. So maybe that's their objective.
Well, Coke just put out this can with a QR code that takes you to a Facebook page where you can throw snowballs at your friends.
You know what? At least
exactly.
We'll do it. Yeah. So but none of this is bad. It's just the start, right? Yeah. When you look at Starbucks, right? So, and what they're doing, you could argue whether or not that's real mobile commerce, right? And there's part of me that would say it is, part of me that would say it isn't.
It may be engagement, right?
It's a stored value card, represented as a QR code on a mobile phone. There's a lot of, there's some very impressive back-end integration. It's really cool. Compared to, NFC, well, it's just a different type of payment. So I think that's how we look at it is, how do you get past these kind of cute things, right? And look at, if I'm a shopper and I'm in this particular type of store, and again, grocery is really our thing, what is my objective? My objective is to get in, get out, right? So I want this to happen as quickly as possible. So you start with the most basic utilities. Then once you've done that, then you look at enhancing it. So we've done the ability to scan, the ability to get targeted coupons, and what we see next is, well, how do I pay? NFC is still a ways away, right? And allegedly there's going to be an iPhone 5, and allegedly it'll have NFC, and who knows when that will happen. But we're looking at, well, what if you take the idea that Amazon created for websites with one-click payment and applied it to a mobile? So that no matter where I was in the store, when I was ready to pay, I just hit pay, and I get digital receipt on my phone. I show somebody as I'm walking out the door. Yeah. Really cool. What about shopping lists, right? So how do I take the shopping list experience, instead of being the really lame static experience it is now, all most lists do is take what we used to write down on paper and put it on your phone, which is cool. It's it certainly is easier, and you can check the box as you're going through the store. That's really neat. Well, what if that were integrated into the shopping experience and the pre-planning experience, right? So that the list had the ability to be created both by things I scan, things I type, recipes, other websites, other apps. They could be done remotely. What if all of that integrated into one experience, that when, as I was walking through the store, scanning, if I see milk, I scan milk, milk comes off my list. And it would just be the word milk, because I don't write, 1% Stop and Shop, 1 gallon of milk. I write milk, and we get milk. Yeah. So taking the shopping list and optimizing it for mobile. And then we're also looking at what to do with social, and the idea of aggregating all of your coupons and offers in a way that load to cart is a really neat idea. It's very cool conceptually. The problem is when I walk in the store, unless there's a reminder, I forget that I have the coupon. So how do you present coupons to people during shopping list, when I walk into the store, etc. So the thought that we've got is don't take an analog or online process, right, and just push it to mobile with a new interface. Look at that process completely differently and optimize it for the mobile experience in context of what the shopper would be looking to do and would give them the most utility, right? Which I know is a horrible word in the crazy world of mobile, right? Because it's supposed to be cool and, this is changing the world. But if you look at some of the coolest apps that are out there, they're utility based. Yeah. Everybody's favorite app is Google Maps. Everyone loves Google Maps. It's how I decide how I go to work every day. I have two paths. Every day I open it up, hit Office, I take a look. Whichever one has the least amount of red, I take that path. Right? Very utilitarian, but highly functional. Yep. I use that thing at least twice a day. Right? So I think that when we look at mobile and the potential of mobile, it's going to actually go through, I think, an interesting change where the whiz-bang, cool, cute stuff starts to dissipate or evolves into having strong utility, because if it doesn't have that, it's just not going to get used.
It's true. And I look at mobile as a series kind of nuanced gap filling, right? Where it's part of my day, but it's not an inconvenience to use it. There's no friction to use it. And so, I use a shopping app for when I go grocery shopping, and they've started to integrate recipes. Like if you want, I saw one for like chicken cordon bleu. So you just have to click it and it adds it to your shopping list. And I think that's an interesting play. And the coupons pop and those kind of things. But it's just little gap fillers. Is that it allows me to budget, it allows me to do a number of other things, but it's just such a nuance. It's not like it's mobile is in my face. It's kind of like I do my routine, and mobile complements the way that I do my routine. It adds value, and that's really a hard balance for a lot of people to get. Yeah,
well, for most retailers, they think of mobile as a channel.
Yeah,
and it's really an extension of the shopper.
100%.
This is me, right? This is, right? We've all heard the stats that 90 or 95% of us sleep within 3 feet of our phones, and all these crazy stats, right? We'll go back for our phone, but not for our wallet, all of that stuff. It's absolutely true. And I think what you're identifying in the gaps is what most of the apps are filling are the easy gaps.
Yeah.
It's easy to create a shopping list. It's easy to deliver an untargeted coupon. It's it's easy to just check in via Foursquare or Facebook, right? But connecting that into something with real intelligence and real value is where it becomes really hard. And I think that will be that big shift as we go through the next 12 to 18 months.
So do you think, are companies spending on this? Or are they kind of on the fence right now when it comes to doing exactly what you said, doing the hard part? Because, some companies that I talk to are kind of blissfully ignoring mobile at this moment and not spending a lot of effort. They're doing those things that you said. Well, we offer, coupons or discounts through Foursquare check-ins, or like us on Facebook and we'll do something nice for you. That's lazy marketing. But do you see people kind of augmenting or accelerating their spend?
So the data says they are, and we're seeing a lot more interest, right? I mean, a year ago we'd explain what we did, and people were like, all right, that's really neat, but
nifty.
Not really
I got a lot of nifty.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Nifty.
Yeah, that's neat. And well, they're used to with the handheld guns. There's a big capital expense for retailers, and that a few of them shied away from that, even though that had a 9-month ROI right on the capex. But
crazy.
The now the shopper pays for the device, and so the costs come down, but the experience is different. And so I think what's been most interesting is how that mobile is actually moving out of the IT organization and into the marketing organization, right? And customer engagement, and looking at it and saying, okay, how do we use mobile as an engagement tool, as something beyond just a shopper technology, and that's where I think we're really seeing the acceleration. The challenge though for any retailer is, think about the thousands of apps that are out there, the hundreds of companies that are out there, many of whom are promising the same thing, and it's very difficult for them to be able to sort through who's real, who's legit, who has actually done this, who hasn't, and then also the types of solutions that are being delivered, really, vary widely. Like a Modiv solution could work for Gap, right? But Gap can handle mobile. If you walk into a store and you scan and pay for something, but it's connected to a mobile e-commerce site instead of the actual in-store inventory, they're okay with that. That's not a huge huge issue for them. So if you look at something like club or office or grocery or drug or convenience, couldn't be further from the truth. So the level of effort, I think, is also based on the type of retailer and the type of experience that they want to deliver. And you hear about a lot of people saying, okay, well, we're going to test this, we're going to test that, we're going to see what happens, and that's all good stuff because it's moving them toward mobile. But the big risk that they've got is as they're testing, they're teaching their shoppers and consumers how to use other people's apps. And when they introduce their own, it better be exponentially better, or you're going to have a hard time taking people off that app.
And it's true. And I think at some point, these brands, whether they're a big brand or a small brand, they're going to want to own that experience to begin with. So, we saw a lot of companies testing with third-party applications,
right.
And now they're trying to bring it in-house. And that's what I think that we're seeing, and we're going to see much more of in 2012.
Yeah.
I do want to. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say social is going to be a big piece of that.
I was going to bring it up. So social is a huge piece in this. So walk us through why.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. In my opinion, who cares about check-ins, right? So great. Amen. You just walked into Old Navy. Who cares, right? Now the retailer, likes that. But what is my value as a shopper? What do I get for checking into Old Navy?
Yeah.
Nothing. Yeah. Now, maybe they'll run a promotion, right? And maybe I'll get a coupon. But again, I'm treated the same as everyone else. So what value does that provide the retailer, right? For an Old Navy, if they give you a $5 off coupon, they're paying for it, right? In grocery, at least they can defer and share some of or all of those costs with the CPG brands.
Right.
So the question is well, instead of looking at check-ins and just saying, hey, I'm here, right? Actually looking and saying, well, what if I say, hey, I'm here, and the reason I'm going to do that is that I get something in return. So our perspective on social, for example, is that let's take a check-in. That once I open the app, that it automatically checks me in, and I'm willing to do that because what I get is a targeted offer to start my shopping trip. And that provides value for me. That provides, a benefit that increases my satisfaction and loyalty with that retailer. The ability to share a great coupon or offer with my friends via a Facebook, for example, right, is very compelling. Good for the brand, good for the retailer, good for the shopper. So looking at social not as just a way to say, hey, look, here's where I am, but as a way to engage the shopper, have them engage their friends and drive more loyalty, more awareness, more usage with your company can be very, very compelling. And we think that's the direction it's going to go because that's the direction we're building our solutions. So,
well, that's really supposed to be the power of this. Is these terms that we hear all over the place, like social sphere, right? Is your influence, who you influence and how you can influence to them, and I love the idea of lifetime rewards, So this is going to be all MLM-y, kind of downline or whatever you call it, but I love the idea that if I influence you, John, to come to my favorite restaurant that you've never been before, you're always associated with me, you're tagged to me somehow. And then when you bring somebody to that restaurant who's never been there before, they're tagged to you, you're tagged to me, we all benefit, I get some points, but it kind of enforces that or reinforces that social aspect of it, that if you influence somebody's decision to come into this restaurant or this place of business or this grocery store or something and they buy something, that's as a direct benefit to you, there should be something that happens as a result of that. The idea that you walk into a store and announce your arrival with trumpets by checking in and expect something is kind of ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's money for nothing. And you're right, and especially in the retail space, that comes out of your marketing budget, it comes out of your profits, and that's a thin razor profit line for the good stores, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It almost goes back to it's almost like we're going backward in some ways, right? I think we miss service, right? I mean, and I know I have, right? Yeah. I mean, I find that service, high quality service, right, is such a rarity now,
Yep.
right? And the places you find it are surprising in some ways, not surprising in others. I had to replace my iPhone actually a couple weeks ago because the battery wasn't working properly. Happened to show up early, didn't realize they opened at 10. I showed up at 9 when I thought they opened. I explained what I needed. The guy said, "Come on in, we'll take care of it."
Is it an Apple store?
Yeah, Apple Store. So, took care of me. Great service. But we all thrive and miss that level of service. So what you're talking about is, it's like when you go to your favorite restaurant and then you send a friend there and you say, well, ask for Bob and tell him I sent you. And then you send another friend and another friend. And then the next time you go out to eat, Bob comes over and says, here's a little appetizer on us. Thanks for sending all those folks. So
an appetizer? I sent 4 guys your way.
Exactly.
Right? Come on, cheap bastard.
Exactly. Yeah. Give me a bottle of wine. That's
Bob, you cheap guy. Yeah.
Yeah. So but I think that mobile provides this ability for retailers to be able to look at and treat each shopper on an individualized basis, right? The person who is a top level shopper at your store, right, should be treated differently than the person who is there on occasion.
Right.
Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that the offers are different.
No.
It just means the engagement points can be different, right? And that's really the compelling thing about mobile. I equate it going back to e-commerce. Think about your experience when you go to Amazon. When you go to Amazon, it uses clickstreams, it uses cookies, uses implicit and explicit personalization, it uses your purchase history, collaborative filtering, uses all these technologies. Why? Because when you're on that website, they know that you're showing an indication that you want to buy.
Yep.
So they want to tailor that experience so that you're able to find the things you want quickly, maybe find some additional items so that you end up spending more. That is their objective. Well, you can do the exact same thing with mobile, and you can do it on that same one-to-one basis while they're walking in the store. And when I'm walking through a grocery store in particular, I'm ready to buy. My wallet is open because I'm there to shop, right? So I walk in, I'm influenced in a positive way, not in a negative way. I'm rewarded for sharing this information, and it feels like a true interaction and engagement with the retailer, and it will truly change the way we shop.
Unbelievable. Man, John, I think we're gonna have to do this quarterly because we get lost in the time, and I think we covered probably, as we did last time, about half of what we wanted to cover. So I figure if we do this quarterly, we'll cover half, and then we'll only be 2 halves behind.
Exactly. Successive approximations, right? We'll get there eventually.
Some kind of math. As soon as the industry slows down, we'll get there, I suppose, when there's not as exciting things to talk about.
Yeah.
So, big things, big thoughts. Let's finish this off. 2012 is going to be the year of contextualized engagement. Is that right?
Yeah, really. It's gonna be taking apps and the experience and putting it in context of who you are, where you are, what you like, what you've bought, what you're currently buying, what you're currently doing, and done in a way that converges the shopper, the smartphone, and the physical store.
And then from a social side, we're going to see much more influence on the social on your social sphere. And do you think that we're going to actually start to see rewards for people who are, everybody talks about, I have so many friends on Facebook and so many followers on Twitter and so many bliss and blah, blah, blah. Do you think that we're going to start to see that, retailers, maybe even grocers, saying, okay, we'll put those up and then we'll start rewarding you? Do we think we're there yet?
No, I don't think the technology's there yet,
okay.
Right? I think there are probably some kids in the basement of some college right now developing that as you and I are talking, I think it makes a lot of sense. I think between now and then, what it's about is how do I reward my shoppers directly by engaging them intelligently, and that's comes in a multitude of different fashions. But really, it's about how do I provide you with more value so that all things being equal, if you're looking at shopping at 2 stores and one provides you this really cool, amazing way to shop that's faster and saves you money and is smarter and it knows who you are and you actually enjoy doing it, you're going to go to that one.
Right.
So it really allows the store to start differentiating on quality of service, level of service versus just price. And I think that's where the compelling value comes for the retailer.
So 2012 is the year of mobile.
So is 2011 and 13, and yeah, I think mobile's going to be around for a while. I mean, there are a lot of parallels I know between mobile and .com. I think the difference is we're smarter, and that mobile's not coming out saying, "Oh, we're going to crush every brick and mortar store." It's smart mobile is about enhancing that experience.
I love it, John. So where do people find you, John?
Caron2 is my Twitter handle, and actually 2012 is going to be a year of the blog for me if I can actually get my act together. So I've heard those blog things are pretty good.
I love it. It's pretty retro of you. 2012, the year of the blog.
Yeah, it only took me a few years.
I love it. So are we going to be able to find that blog on Modiv Media's website?
Yeah, modivmedia.com.
Okay, well, we make sure that so we've got 2 videos now, 2 episodes. Those should be your first 2 posts. I've got them baked already for you.
Of course, absolutely.
I love it. So listen, we have been speaking with John Caron, who's the Senior VP of Marketing for a company called Modiv Media. Go to modivmedia.com, MODIV media.com. Go check them out. And if you liked this episode, I implore you to go back. There's a little search bar up there in the top corner. I think it's going to still be there. Just type in Modiv, M-O-D-I-V. You'll get this video and the one that we did previously at the end of August. Put them all together. You're going to get like I don't even know. This is a BCom in mobile commerce and mobile purchasing from John. It's been, I've spent now almost 2 hours with you, and it's been invaluable. And I know that you found that as well. So thank you so much, John, for doing this. Really appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
Folks, wherever you are, I'm in Miami. You can be driving your car, you can be sitting with your family, you can be forcing this upon your family, which I wouldn't consider. But wherever you are, whatever you are doing, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you guys spending so much time on Untether.tv. I love the fact that you do that. I'm hoping that you find some value, and I'd love your feedback. Reach out, untether@gmail.com. If you've got a product, if you've got a company that you really want to ask a burning question, or if you just want to say thanks, I really appreciate it. Reach out, untether@gmail.com, and we will see you next time for another episode of Untether.tv. Thank you for watching, John. Really appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. See you later.